Jalen Hurts is a very good quarterback, and quite frankly, he doesn't get enough grace, I should say, for saying, I win football games. Like, what would you rather? We go play Mahomes, and, oh, man, 41-40, Hurts, 375, 4 touchdowns, they lost. Boy, that guy's good. Or no, hey, you know what? I'm going to play within myself. I'm not going to turn the football over. I'm going to play within the game script here, and we're just going to win. Doesn't matter who gets the accolades.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The biggest games, the biggest bets that you need to know. So much fun already, Joe. I feel like we got a lot of information now.
Yeah. Good games, not great, but again, it's college football. You can bet on them, nothing better.
Bet it, win. By the way, and I always like to say this, and it's true. Like, you can have the worst game in the world. You cash your ticket, it's like a Picasso. Like, that game was the best game I ever watched in my life.
Are you kidding?
Exactly.
Especially when you're hitting parlays.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Two favorites are still the two favorites. So for me, it's just whether or not you got Herbert at a better price or if you think there's a better price to get at this point. But I mean, with the way Josh Allen plays and generally Lamar Jackson, it still does appear to be a two-player race. The only thing, obviously, this is an injury league, Adam, and in the NFL, an injury that keeps you out 4 or 5 games, all of a sudden, those odds will shift.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
Good afternoon. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. It is Monday, the day after the NFL on Sunday, and the first day of knowing exactly the matchups in Major League Baseball's postseason, which begins tomorrow. We'll have the very latest on that as we break it all down for you on this Monday edition of the show. In addition, we'll get to the very latest in the NFL and dive into some of the results with Jacob Kamaker from USA Today. Joe Ranieri will also join us on the show to do the same and also preview the baseball playoffs. Of course, our SportsGrid insider is also along for the ride. Adam Kaplan with the latest in the NFL as well. I guess that's where we'll begin with a game last night that you never would guess, with 80 points scored in a football game, that there could end up being a tie. That's what happened last night. Packers-Cowboys play for the second highest scoring tie in the history of the NFL. 40-40. That's right. 40-40. Cowboys still can't play defense, but they seem to get their offense going here a little bit. Josh Jacobs scored a couple of touchdowns for the Packers. Dak Prescott was fantastic for the Cowboys at home. And here we are. We have our first tie of the season a month in. Now, that's not exactly where the Packers want to be, which is losing to the Browns last week and now tying the Cowboys this week. Not a great couple of weeks, says Matt LaFleur.
We didn't come down here to tie a football game, but that's what happened. It's disappointing in regards to just too many critical mistakes that led to that tie. Give Dallas credit. They did a great job offensively, moving the ball down the field. But there's a lot of things that we all have to clean up, starting with myself. I mean, we're trying to be aggressive at the end of the half, and that really bit us in the butt.
Yeah, I mean, I think we moved the ball. That's what you want to do. You move the ball well. I think I think the sad part is we didn't be able to take any shots right there to the end zone until that last play, which is tough. I think we had a good play called, and they, didn't play the way we thought they were going to play like they did the play before that. So, I think there's a lot of stuff that we still have to clean up, just throwing the ball in bounds and a running clock situation right there. So there's stuff that we got to figure out and be better at right there in that situation.
Meanwhile, the Cowboys will take that tie. They were 6.5-point underdogs going into the game. Meanwhile, head coach Brian Schottenheimer has been a coach around the NFL for over a decade, and his dad, of course, is head coach. He's seen a lot of football over the last 20, 30 years and says last night was one of the more unique experiences of his career.
A lot of games for me in the NFL. it's definitely one that I will remember. And I think I'll remember it because I'm so proud of our guys' fight, but golly, I wanted them to get that win. And so I think that's what I'll take away from it. I mean, to come in and, play that team, that's a damn good football team we just played. And, our guys just battled for 70 minutes and the ebbs and flows. And so I told them how proud I was of them. It's a tie. And I really don't know what to say about that.
Very. Yeah, I mean, you don't play the game for ties. I've told y'all before, I don't care about the stats. I don't care about the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows. I just care about the end result and the win. And so when you don't get that, right now it's tough for me, guess 10 years in, the first tie I've been a part of, it's hard to kind of wrap my head around it because I know I'd feel a hell of a lot worse if it was a loss.
I feel the same way. Cowboys played well and better not to lose in a game like that in overtime. Meanwhile, what are the Ravens going to do? They're 1-3. They lose yesterday to the Chiefs. They also lose Lamar Jackson with a hamstring issue. Cooper Rush came into the game, couldn't really do a heck of a lot. They did get a late touchdown in this one. They were 2.5-point favorites, but the Chiefs seemingly back on track, especially offensively. Patrick Mahomes with 4 touchdowns in this one. He spoke about it after the game.
I think guys they executed well, and the offensive line blocked extremely well. And when that happens, you can get the football out and let guys make plays. And we had a good job as far as scheme. I knew where to throw the ball on time. And other than a few plays, I think at the beginning of the game, I thought we did a great job executing the whole day. Yeah, I mean, obviously when you have success, it's just we've been working extremely hard, and we want to have success. And we've been just making little mistakes here and there, and that causes frustration. But at the same time, we've been learning from them, and we'll learn from this game. I mean, I think early in the game, you saw the one to Juju that got tipped at the line of scrimmage, and then the other field goal that we had. I mean, there's stuff that you can learn from every game, win or loss. And I think I've been proud of the guys and how they've responded and want to be even better every single week.
A few bad beats, of course, over the weekend in football. It's the way it works. One of them is if you had the Colts plus 3.5. Not only did they not win this game, they lost 27-20 on a late 80-yard touchdown pass that gave the Rams the win and the cover. Also, Adonai Mitchell, wide receiver on the Colts, appeared to score a touchdown, but flipped the ball up before he got to the end zone for a touchback. Tough scene for the Colts in this one. They deserved a little bit better, but the Rams right now, one of the best teams in the NFC. Here's Matthew Stafford on the victory.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to throw the ball where the coverage dictates. Our guys do a hell of a job of winning. And, I'm lucky to play quarterback with this group of skill guys and really the guys up front. It's a whole lot of fun. There was some lean moments there in the third, early in the fourth, where frankly they did a nice job of, kind of affecting what we were trying to do. Obviously got the big turnover. What a job by our defense right there, holding them to 3. Then we were able to kind of get going again. So total team effort today, but it's definitely nice. We got guys that can win at all levels of the defense and make plays after the catch, which is awesome.
Eagles improved to 4-0. They were up big in the first half. Bucks came back 31-25 the final. Also, the first game on Sunday morning was in Dublin, and Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers in a wild one ended up beating the Vikings 24-21. Biggest upset in the weekend perhaps was at the Meadowlands as the Giants behind Jackson Dart pull off the win 21-18 against the Los Angeles Chargers, who were 6.5-point favorites in the game. Jackson Dart, a winner after the game, will always remember this moment.
Yeah, it was just a football game. I think that's just the best way to describe it. Obviously this experience was a special one, being my first one. And I'm just grateful to have the guys around me that I had. I obviously want to give a big shout out to Russ. I know that this week probably wasn't the easiest thing, but he handled it like a professional and just was a mentor for me. So, obviously just have a ton of respect for him, and it goes for Jameis as well, just getting me prepared for this week. And, really just proud of the guys being able to battle through some adversity throughout the game. And, it's not always going to be the cleanest, but I was just happy that we were able to come out with the win.
All right, now one of the bigger events over the weekend, if you were locked into football and some baseball, had to be the Ryder Cup. Of course, Team Europe was fantastic the first couple of days. They end up surviving a scare to take home the championship. Congratulations to them, but not congratulations to the fans at Bethpage. What was going on with all of the heckling over the weekend? Rory McIlroy addressed it after Team Europe's win.
No, this should not be what is acceptable in the Ryder Cup. But, we will be making sure to say to our fans in Ireland in 2027 that, what happened here this week is not acceptable. And it's, for me, it's, come and support your home team. Come and support your team. I think if I was an American, I would be annoyed that I didn't hear a lot of shouts for Scotty today, but I heard a lot of shouts against me. And it's like, support your players.
Major League Baseball postseason begins tomorrow. First game of the day will be Tigers Guardians as they battle again in the same division and now have to fight it out for advancing to the division series. But everyone will be watching, of course, Yankees Red Sox. Actually, a wild card round this year in the American League. Padres and Cubs will start off at Wrigley, play those 3 games there. And the Cincinnati Reds qualified for the playoffs with the New York Mets falling on their face this weekend. Reds at Dodgers begins tomorrow night. Vinny Iyer joins us from Sporting News next.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
There were some reports earlier this week that Russell Wilson may be sought after somewhat during the trade deadline. A lot of people have been talking about Jameis shipping him to the Bengals as they just need a quarterback to throw the ball. I think they need to move Russell Wilson out. Even though he says he does not want to be moved, you got to get back an asset if you can.
Oh, you do. Does he go to a team like the Saints? Where does he go?
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
That team are going to stretch him over the top, but I still think it's blue-collar football, Big Ten style. That's where USC has struggled. I do not think Lincoln Riley, I'm sorry, is a good head coach. He's a great quarterback whisperer. He coaches from an offensive coordinator position, doesn't make halftime adjustments, and that's where I give the edge to Bielema. I don't like this game, but I would take the points with Illinois.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Well, Shadur, which quarterbacks are you talking about? Because there is some bad quarterback play out there, but the dude who can't beat Dylan Gabriel out for a job and can't beat Joe Flacco out for a job certainly can't lay claim to being better than any other quarterback in the league.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Vinny Iyer is with us from Sporting News to go over the latest in the NFL. And, man, late game last night in the NFL, going not down to the wire, but down to the overtime wire. Vinny, one of the more bizarre endings, generally speaking, when teams don't have trouble scoring, they don't tie in an NFL game. But that's what happened yesterday. 40-40. Packers and Cowboys. I mean, for fantasy, you got all your points, all the overs hit on everything. But it feels just very unfulfilling to score 40 points in a football game and lose, doesn't it? Or tie.
Yeah, Well, maybe it's a big going down as a loss for the Packers, right? Because that was a game that everyone thought they should win, right? And you lose basically a half game in the standings to the Lions and doing that. Where the Cowboys look, the expectations have been greatly lowered. It was a good kind of confidence boosting win for them, but the other, or tie for them, the other thing that could happen here is the Cowboys get the Jets this week, so they have a chance to maybe get back to 500 and maybe build this momentum. So I think it was a very positive result for the Cowboys based on the expectations and how things started in this game. Well, I think if you're the Packers with that lead and the way things broke down and missing the extra point attempt that flipped to the other team, there were a lot of missed opportunities. They're the Packers. I mean, they get Micah Parsons. They're not here to be 2-1-1 and look up at the Lions after you make that big of a deal that costs you that much money.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. Packers definitely disappointing, and I will get to it. But with the way the Lions looked, I got to tell you, I think that now it's cruise control for them the rest of the season, especially at home. They look unbeatable at home. Dak threw 4 total touchdowns yesterday on 31 of 40 passing for 319 yards. Jordan Love matched him toe-to-toe, 337 yards. He also threw 3 touchdowns. And by the way, that game was the first time in NFL history where both quarterbacks had 30-plus completions, 70% completing passes, 300 yards each, 3 touchdowns each, and no interceptions. Great game for both quarterbacks there. All right, the Philadelphia Eagles are winning in every which way but loose, as they say. They win on defense, they win on offense, they go up big. They sometimes don't go up big, then they come back to win. I mean, they block some field goals, but you're 4-0. I mean, what else is there to say? They win 31-25 yesterday. Looked like a blowout. Bucks come back, make it fun, make it somewhat close. And then after the game, interesting, A.J. Brown, who had a very big game yesterday, 14 catches for 151 yards, decides to go on social media, which is generally never a good idea, but I do respect guys for saying what they say. They're right to say it, I guess. Eagles, to me, still look like one of the very best teams in the NFL. I don't think there's any questioning that.
Yeah, they can beat you any which way. Last couple of weeks, everyone's focused on taking away Saquon Barkley. They haven't worried about that. They've thrown to Barkley. They've thrown to their wide receivers. Dallas Goedert is back, I think, fully healthy as an impact tight end, as we saw through the red zone, which is a expanded role for him because he didn't score a lot of touchdowns before, but he had 2 in the game against the Bucks. So they're really feeling it. Look, their defense is going to have some holes. They lost some people, but they know how to kind of hunker down in the clutch moments to put away teams. You're right. They can win it anyway. They can win big. They can blow out a team. They can come back. They can really kind of keep a lead like they did and grind out a victory as they did against the Buccaneers. Now that they get the Broncos this week, that's a game where I think they'll go back to Saquon Barkley. So just a matter of what they want to do this week. Do they want to run? Do they want to pass? Who are they going to make happy? And really the only team that can get in the way of the Eagles right now is the Eagles and any potential egos on its team.
Yeah, definitely 4-0 at this point. It's a postseason. It's just how far the Eagles go. If you're 4-0 in the NFL, you have like a 90-something% chance of getting in. I think the Eagles do too. Same could be said for the Bills. The Bills definitely sleptwalked through that game against the Saints yesterday. I mean, look, the Saints definitely, they'll say they put up a fight, but here's the bottom line, Vinny. You want to lay double digits in the NFL? Okay, do it. If you lay 16 points in the NFL these days, you're out of your mind. The Saints kept this close throughout. And credit to them, after getting crushed by the Seahawks the week before, they at least made a game of it. And you know what's funny is that everyone is worried, Vinny, about the Bills defense. I mean, this happens in the NFL. You're not going to win every game by 40 or 50 points. The Bills are going to outscore every team in the NFL. So I don't know how anyone could poke a hole at this team right now. They're the best team in the AFC. It's not close.
Yeah, it's going to be fun this week, by the way. Sunday night, week 5. I mean, the total is above 50 for this one. The Patriots, I mean, they looked really good. Drake May seemed to figure out a lot of things. They scored on special teams. Their defense is starting to get a few things right for Mike Vrabel. So I'm excited to see where the Patriots stand again. I know they've been a little bit up and down early in the year, but that's what you expect from a young team. But I think the Vrabel-McDaniels effect has been there. So look, all of a sudden, if the Patriots can somehow manage and stay with the Bills, this gets a little bit more interesting. But if the Bills take care of business there, I think it's going to be a roll all the way to probably the number 1 seed.
Yeah, Vinny, they're plus 195 right now to get to the Super Bowl. I mean, that's kind of crazy. Any team not named Kansas City less than 2-1 on the FanDuel Sportsbook. It tells you all you need to know. Bills are the class of the AFC. All right, let's do Monday Night Football tonight. There's, by the way, that plus 195. Monday Night Football tonight. I've seen this matchup before. You can't tell me who is going to win. It's not possible. Dolphins laying 10, Jets laying 10, Jets, Dolphins. I mean, you throw everything out in this game. We saw this last year at the end of the year when the Jets beat the Dolphins in Miami. They were playing horrible. Then all of a sudden, Rodgers hit Devontae Adams. He had like 200 yards. He ended up winning. Miami minus 2.5, total 44.5. I'm going to throw a coin through our screen here, Vinny. You want to flip it? Tell me who's going to win this one tonight?
Yeah, I'm flipping it toward the Jets. I just feel like they have a little bit more inspiration with Aaron Glenn. That I think the Dolphins are going to be headed toward going through the motions here with Mike McDaniel here soon. So I think that's the difference. Is look, you saw them inspired last week against the Bucs. I know the Dolphins came to life against the Bills, but I think the Jets have been a lot closer to looking like they're going to win a game than the Dolphins this season.
I would agree. All right, now this one's a little tougher because it's a big line. Broncos minus 7.5, total 43.5. A game we'll probably know early on if the Bengals are affected at altitude at Mile High on Monday night. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the Bengals are not as bad as they showed last week in Minnesota. I mean, Minnesota has been up and down all year. I think the Bengals are going to be inconsistent. The Broncos look like an inconsistent team. So I like the Bengals to keep it somewhat close because I don't think Denver can run away from them tonight.
Yeah, Bo Nix has struggled in his second season thus far in the NFL. Thanks, Vinny, for coming on.
Yep, thanks, guys.
We'll be right back with the Sports Grid Sound Off.
That's a lot for a closer. 10. That's you're not a closer anymore if you blow 10 games. I mean, my goodness. That's
He's mentally broken too. Like it's to the point where like Dodger fans aren't even mad at him; they're more mad at the Dodgers for putting him out there.
Putting him in,
right? It's more so.
Right.
Yeah, it's like guys, like he's done.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
It's put up a shut-up time for some of these teams that have scheduled nothing but cupcakes, Donnie, to start the season without truly being tested. Are you, right, Miami, they've played ranked teams over and over and over and just beat Florida as well. So, some of these teams like Penn State, what are we going to get from them?
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Major League Baseball has decided it is time to put balls and strikes not just in the hands of the umpires, but also the robot umpires, as they say. The ABS system is now officially in place starting next season. Now, keep in mind, they're not just throwing this out there. They have used this at the Arizona Fall League, and they've also used it at different levels of the minor leagues as well.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Everything changed at that point. They went and got Jonquil Jones, and they really had that triple threat monster team. That second year they lost in the WNBA Finals, 3-1 against the Las Vegas Aces. Year 3, they finally get over the top hump. And you can question whether they should have won the title with that foul call late in Game 5 that sent Breanna Stewart to the foul line.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Back to the NFL we go. It's time now to dive into the very latest in a couple of the games in the NFL. We'll hear from Aaron Rodgers on his trip overseas and also John Harbaugh on one of the worst starts the Ravens have had under his umbrella. It's time now for the Sports Grid Sound Off. Well, one of the big stories going into Sunday Night Football was the return of Micah Parsons to the Dallas Cowboys. Boy, that's a story that these guys can't get enough of, right? I think I'm done with this already. But either way, Parsons makes his debut and returns to Dallas, and things do not work out at all for the Green Bay Packers. Yeah, they were up 10 points early, but the Cowboys just kept holding court, coming back, and they end up tying the game. And so naturally, Parsons' return to Dallas is not a win. And here he was on that after the game.
I'm not even gonna lie, I'm pissed off. I'm very disappointed just overall how we performed. I even told Jordan to the side, thank you for having our back today. That's why it's so pivotal that, you play complimentary football, because today Jordan played like the player he was, and we let him down. We didn't live up to the expectations on defense.
Being back here and facing them like for you?
I mean, for me, bro, there's only one thing for me, and I told y'all from the beginning. All I know is go. So from the snap of that football, it was just about killing 4. And now it's on to whoever the Bengals got up, just killing that opponent. I just didn't think we did a great job today.
So the Packers with a tie against the Cowboys and a loss against the Browns last 2 games. All right, big win for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They travel overseas to Dublin. This is a game a lot of people thought the Vikings would win and maybe even win easily, but it did not go their way. Carson Wentz, a rough day for the Vikings. Aaron Rodgers, pretty solid day and pretty solid start to his season. Also commenting on the crowds in Dublin, saying that these guys know how to tailgate, show up early.
I thought the atmosphere was outstanding. I mean, I came out real early, and in most NFL stadiums, there's like a 2 hours when the stadium opens, and it starts to trickle in. But somebody came back in the locker room at like 11 and goes, "Man, there's a ton of people out there already." I was like, "Well, we're not in the States anymore. This is a different type of fan." So I loved it. I thought the crowd was fantastic. There's a lot of terrible towels there, but I felt like there was probably some good old Irish get in the mix too, waving those towels around a little bit. The music was great. The fans were cool. I mean, the field was pristine. I thought the field was really, really good. Conditions were good. We had a nice, sunny Irish day, right? I feel like a normal Irish, Scottish day is like overcast and drizzling. This was extra, extra nice today. So the whole experience was fantastic. Shout out to the country and everybody that made this happen. Win or lose, I would have said the same thing. I just felt like the reception from the people here was outstanding.
By the way, another international game coming up this Sunday. Minnesota Vikings, who lost to the Steelers, are back this Sunday again playing in that game. How about the Baltimore Ravens, a 1-3 start and losing their quarterback in the game? Did not anticipate that in the first month of the NFL season. John Harbaugh usually gets off to a really good start with the Ravens. They lose 37-20 yesterday, and there's no sugarcoating how they've begun.
That's it. That's a game in the National Football League, and we'll have to go back to work, figure out how to try to win our next football game. And we've got issues that we're dealing with, and we got to deal with them in a real smart way and find out how to line up and play our best game against the Texans. That's going to be our task this week, and I know our guys will go to work. I know our coaches will go to work to do that, and that'll be our challenge. So any other questions or any other conversations about it are going to be just that. We've got to get to work and get ready to play a football game and play well and try to find a way to win a game and get on track. I believe we're going to be a good football team. We're just not a good enough football team yet. And all the things that go with that are the challenges that you face in the National Football League when you get circumstances that we've had. So that's what we'll go to work on.
Of course, we got 2 games on Monday Night Football this evening, so make sure you keep it locked to Game Time Decisions and In-Game Live for the very latest, as this will be the final season, by the way, of 2 games on Monday Night Football. They've decided to scrap the idea at the end of the year. All right, make sure you download the SportsGrid app if you want to follow along or maybe place some bets and track them. Of course, you can track all of your wagers via the SportsGrid app. Just take out your phone and scan that QR code right there, available for both iOS and Android. It is the SportsGrid app, and you can stream us 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. Coming up next, Jacob Kamaker joins us from USA Today, recapping the latest in the NFL. Don't go away. two favorites are still the two favorites. So for me, it's just whether or not you got Herbert at a better price or if you think there's a better price to get at this point. But I mean, with the way Josh Allen plays and generally Lamar Jackson, it still does appear to be a two-player race. The only thing, obviously, this is an injury league, Adam, and in the NFL, an injury that keeps you out 4 or 5 games, all of a sudden, those odds will shift.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Talk to me. Who are some of the guys? What are the keys for a victory here?
Well, Joe, I mean, we have this one player. I mean, it's like having Tom Brady at quarterback in the Super Bowl. We've got Scotty Scheffler. I think the first key is that, and this is going to sound crazy, but I think we should play him in all 5 matches. It's just, I'm just throwing it out there. 15 wins in 2 years. We got to get him out there.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They know the minutia of game time decisions, when to call timeouts, when the kick, go for 2, and all that other stuff better than the head coaches, because the head coaches aren't watching 30, 35 games like sports fans are between college football and the NFL. All the head coaches are doing are watching game films. They may be watching 30 game films, but they're not watching game management. So the fan does know.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Everything changed at that point. They went and got Jonquel Jones, and they really had that triple threat monster team. That second year they lost in the WNBA Finals, 3-1 against the Las Vegas Aces. Year 3, they finally get over the top hump, and you can question whether they should have won the title with that foul call late in Game 5 that sent Breanna Stewart to the foul line.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Jacob Kamiker is with us from USA Today, breaking down the latest in the National Football League. Great to have Jacob back here on this reaction Monday on NewsWire. And hey, somebody had to win, somebody had to lose. It's a generic statement, Jacob, but here we are with the Chiefs probably exactly where they need to be, just to cruise and somehow get things going at the end of the season. And unfortunately for the Baltimore Ravens, they're 1-3. Jacob, for me, I don't think it's that big a deal. They could fall into that 20% of history that makes the playoffs that goes 1-3, but they're not going to do that without Lamar Jackson. So I guess I'll have to wait and see what his status is, because if he doesn't play, Jacob, and they fall further, like 1-4, 1-5, then I would be supremely concerned. But their schedule's been so rough, I can't indict them just yet.
Yeah, I think I'm there with you. I think the Ravens will get better as the season goes along, but you hit the nail on the head. The question is, how healthy is this team going to be? Because it's not just Lamar Jackson. Obviously, hamstring injury, major concern. Soft tissue injuries tend to linger. That's the old adage with them. So we don't know how many weeks he's going to be out of action. Maybe he'll be able to come back this week. We just don't know yet. But I'm more worried about their defense. They are supremely banged up on that side of the ball. They put Nnamdi Madubuike on injured reserve before last game, and his absence against the Lions was critical in the Ravens not being able to stop them. They couldn't really stop the run. We saw similar struggles from the defensive line against the Chiefs, and then you add in injuries to Roquan Smith, Marlon Humphrey, Nate Wiggins, all left the game injured, all didn't return. I know it was kind of a blowout by the end, and John Harbaugh said that he was not worried about these being season-ending injuries, but with how banged up they are, if they're going to be without these guys long-term, might be hard to come out of this deficit, especially if Jackson has to miss any amount of time.
Yeah, would agree. And by the way, Patrick Mahomes in that game yesterday threw 4 touchdown passes. It was vintage Mahomes there. I mean, if this guy does this all season, he goes back to being top 5, top 10 fantasy starter. He's been on the back end over the last year or so. By the way, I mentioned the Ravens start. They didn't get the Eagles, but look who they did get. The Bills, the Lions, and the Chiefs. I mean, this is 3 of the top 5 teams, at least in the National Football League. So again, 1-3, what does that mean? They're probably not going to win 11 to 12 games, but they still could easily get in the playoffs if they get going. Meanwhile, the Steelers definitely looked good against the Vikings. I thought, Jacob, for the most part, defensively is really where they shined. They kept picking off Wentz, and when they weren't picking him off, they were coming close. It could have been a lot worse, I thought. Very bizarre play calling, of course, at the end of the game. That's what kept this thing close. But the Steelers are definitely in a better spot than we thought they would be, I think, when you consider looking at the division and seeing the Ravens down at 1-3 and the Steelers at 3-1. If they could keep it going, maybe they get in the playoffs as well.
Yeah, they have a legitimate shot at winning this division, especially, you look at the teams that are meant to compete with them. The Ravens, as we hit on, off to a slow start. And then the Bengals, without Joe Burrow, are going to have a tough time staying afloat against higher-end competition. Jake Browning won't be as bad as he was against the Vikings all the time, but their offensive line simply isn't very good. And I think a lot of people sort of came off the Steelers after they lost to the Seahawks, but that loss isn't really looking too bad right now. The Seahawks have been very good overall. Sam Darnold is playing at a much higher level than I think people realize. So that's not a bad loss for the Steelers. Their defense is rounding into form. They have a ton of talent on that side of the ball. And TJ Watt, even though he's kind of in what you'd consider the latter half of his career at this point, still a very talented defensive player. Same can be said of Cam Hayward. And Aaron Rodgers, if he can just be efficient and steady there on that side of the ball for offense and get the ball to DK Metcalf like he did against the Vikings, this team's going to be very balanced and hard to beat, especially when you have a coach like Tomlin who simply knows how to win games. He's never had a losing season as a head coach. Still one of the more mind-boggling stats that you'll see out there about Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, Steelers, by the way, will still play the Ravens a couple times here, and that game will be decided by 3 points, by the way, no matter what. By the way, Ravens, Steelers, as you can see, still in the mix for the division. Ravens, even at 1-3, still favored. That will change if they lose to the Steelers. Biggest surprise of the weekend in the NFL, Jacob? I don't know. You tell me. The Giants beating the Chargers at home as a 6.5-point underdog. That had to be one of them. I mean, Jackson Dart in that first half looked like a superstar. Then things normalized a little bit, but I'm shocked. And I thought honestly, Dart was going to struggle a ton, and he did not. He played great in this game, or at least good enough to win. 13 of 20, 111 yards, a passing touchdown, a rushing touchdown. I'm still lukewarm on this whole situation, but I got to call myself out here for saying that Jackson Dart was going to get crushed by that Chargers D. That didn't happen at all.
Hey, you were not alone in that assessment. I kind of thought that Jesse Minter was going to scheme up a way to take away Cam Scatterbo and make Jackson Dart kind of beat them through the air. That didn't really materialize, and one of the main reasons for that is because Dart was so willing to use his legs throughout the contest. Yeah, he looked like a rookie at times when he was throwing the ball, held the ball too long on a few occasions, but in a game where he lost his top receiver to a torn ACL about halfway through, Dart looked pretty good. And, this is a comparison that I don't want to make, at this point, but it sort of reminded me a little bit of Josh Allen's rookie season with the Bills this start. Josh Allen, his first year, wasn't the quarterback he is now by a long shot, but he ran the ball a lot in that first season. He wasn't asked to do a lot through the air, and the Bills just kind of tried to win games with their defense and being ground dominant with Josh Allen and their running backs. I kind of saw a little bit of that with Jackson Dart here. Now, that's not to say he's going to turn into the type of playmaking passer that Allen was, but I kind of came away impressed with the Giants' game plan of just saying, hey, we're going to let him use his legs. We're going to let that be the number one thing he does and see what he can do as a distributor. So I'm excited to see where this thing goes. I think a better debut than anyone expected. And yes, a very surprising win. Maybe the Chargers just didn't take their opponent seriously here, but hey, maybe the Giants got a little bit of life, even though I don't have much faith that that will last given their schedule after this game upcoming against the Saints.
Titans and Texans supposedly played a game on Sunday. I mean, what a snoozer here. First half of this game, nobody could score. Finally, Texans decided, hey, we got this young running back. Let's give him a shot. This Marks made his mark, no pun intended, on the NFL. I think that the Texans finally found something there, and I didn't think that they were going to go 0-17. But Jacob, the Titans man. Like, I mean, wow. Like, this, I did not think that Tennessee would be worse than Cleveland and New Orleans and the Giants. And by the way, not just worse, but not even close. This is like stunning for me to see this. First, let me hit on Houston here a little bit. They're plus 270 to make the playoffs. I want to show you that on FanDuel, which I think is interesting because it tells you that there's still a belief that they could get that turned around. They're plus 750 to win the South. I don't think that's their division to win anymore. Jacksonville, as I suspect, looks like they're better than them too. But now, let me show you this. Brian Callahan's record as head coach of the Titans, 3-18. everyone's talking about Mike McDaniel being the first head coach fired in the NFL. I think we got to pivot our thinking there. This is a brutal start for them.
Yeah, I think when you look at what Brian Callahan's accomplished over his year plus with the Titans, it won't inspire any sort of hope. And the idea of getting him a quarterback like Cam Ward and saying, hey, let's see how he can develop him, and the first 4 starts to be as bad as they've been. Cam Ward has taken so many sacks. He's had so many interceptions. He just hasn't looked at all comfortable. And if that continues, Callahan, absolutely, his seat is going to heat up very, very quickly. I mean, 3 wins over, 21 since coming into the NFL as a head coach? That's pretty crazy there. So, yeah, I'm discouraged by the Titans. I expected a better effort from them against the Texans. So them not to score a single point, major red flags here. They might have to shake things up to kind of get Cam Ward in a situation where he can actually develop as a passer.
Yeah, they have a new GM, and so, he's the old coach with the new GM, and usually that doesn't work. And the other point I want to make here is that not entirely Callahan's fault when the kicker misses 2 field goals like he did. It would have been, 27-6, not a shutout. But either way, boy, the Titans are a fadeable asset right now in both reality, fantasy, and sports betting. All right, Jacob, thanks for coming on. Enjoy the games tonight.
Thanks, Craig. Take care.
All right, coming up next, Joe Ranieri weighs in on the latest Rams cover out of nowhere, which I think is fair to say, and also the Jaguars get a big win on the road. Don't go away. Two favorites are still the 2 favorites. So for me, it's just whether or not you got Herbert at a better price or if you think there's a better price to get at this point. But I mean, with the way Josh Allen plays and generally Lamar Jackson, it still does appear to be a 2-player race. The only thing, obviously, this is an injury league, Adam, and in the NFL, an injury that keeps you out 4 or 5 games, all of a sudden, those odds will shift.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Talk to me. Who are some of the guys? What are the keys for a victory here?
Well, Joe, I mean, we have this one player. I mean, it's like having Tom Brady at quarterback in the Super Bowl. We've got Scotty Scheffler. I think the first key is that, and this is going to sound crazy, but I think we should play him in all 5 matches. I'm just throwing it out there. 15 wins in 2 years. We got to get him out there.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They know the minutia of game time decisions, when to call timeouts, when the kick, go for 2, and all that other stuff better than the head coaches, because the head coaches aren't watching 30, 35 games like sports fans are between college football and the NFL. All the head coaches are doing are watching game films. They may be watching 30 game films, but they're not watching game management. So the fan does know.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Everything changed at that point. They went and got Jonquel Jones, and they really had that triple threat monster team. That second year they lost in the WNBA Finals, 3-1 against the Las Vegas Aces. Year 3, they finally get over the top hump. You can question whether they should have won the title with that foul call late in Game 5 that sent Breanna Stewart to the foul line.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Always great to check in with my buddy Joe Ranieri on the latest in the NFL, some baseball. We'll kick it around as well. Joe, great to have you back here on the show, and certainly appreciate all your thoughts on these games. And you want to bet against the Rams right now? I'm not really sure. I mean, it makes sense because it feels like they shouldn't be covering any of these games, but they somehow do it. Getting some crazy luck on or against them. They're just a very strange team right now against the spread. They deserve a cover last week. They don't deserve one this week. I guess that's fair to say. 27-20, they end up winning it. Feel like the Colts played the better game, though, Joe, in this one. Rams take the win.
Well, they did. I mean, the Colts were, the recipient of good opportunity that the Denver Broncos provided for them in a win so far this year. And the Rams were a pretty good recipient of the Indianapolis Colts shooting themselves in the foot, especially when you got just a mind-numbing mistake, not one but two, by the young receiver Adonai Mitchell, who turned a would-be 76-yard touchdown catch in the second quarter into a touchback, Craig, because, you got to cross the goal line before it's a touchdown. Yeah, he lost control of the football, and that was the end of that. And then you had a 53-yard touchdown by Jonathan Taylor that was erased for a holding penalty. So, Indy did exactly what Denver did, gave him every opportunity in the world to win the game. And, one pass, 85 yards to Tutu Atwell. And that was all she wrote for the undefeated season of the Colts.
Yeah, definitely so. But I still feel like that was a game the Colts could still lose and you could still feel confident in them. And I definitely felt that way. Puka Nacua, even with the add of Devontae Adams, both players have been very viable for their props, overs. 170 for Nacua yesterday and a touchdown. Adams looks good too. Rams probably in a good spot, and if they continue to play like this, they'll outdo the 49ers, who we'll get to in just a second. The Colts, by the way, to win the AFC South fall to minus 105, but certainly still very much in the mix there to win, and the Colts have played good football. All right, so Liam Cohen's a good coach, Joe. I mean, the Jaguars, they could be 0-4, but they could be 4-0 too. If the thing with the Jags, they go to basically on the road to San Francisco, they dominate the game. I think the problem you're going to have betting the Jags all season, Joe, you're going to win a lot, but you're going to want to throw things at your TV a lot too, because it feels like they're just keeping these teams in the game when they don't need to. 26-21 the final. This is a sneaky team right now, Joe, in the NFL. Jacksonville, if they can get their act together and not keep teams in the game, I think they have a chance to roll off a lot of wins this year.
Well, the reality is with this team right now is that they're not doing it with Trevor Lawrence. They're doing it, Craig, because they have 13 takeaways. This defense is out of control. That's the most the Jaguars have had through 4 games since the year 2000. They are turning everybody over. They did it again yesterday against the 49ers. I mean, we've already heard how the Robert Saleh, the DC of the 49ers, accused Cohen and Jacksonville of stealing signs, and that is why they're so good on defense. No, when there's a little bit of luck and variance, obviously, but there is no doubt this is one of the better defenses that we've seen the Jags have in quite a while. And the other part is the running game. I mean, when you consider that they're averaging 5 yards a carry this season, which is 6th best in the NFL right now, they were 17th last year in rushing the ball. Their ability to be able to run the ball, give Trevor Lawrence some opportunities to figure it out. Also, no team has dropped more passes, by the way, than the Jacksonville Jaguars. When they put it together, Craig, this is going to be a very interesting team come end of October, beginning of November.
Yeah, this was my sleeper team to go all the way in the AFC this season. I'm not sure I'll get there, but I definitely like what I've seen. Also, think about this a year ago with Jacksonville, and I'm not saying this is all going to work out. A year ago, they're dumping on Travis Etienne, and they want to trade him, and they want to play this guy Bigsby over him. A year later, Etienne's like the #1 rusher in the AFC, and Bigsby's not on the team anymore. So this guy Cohen must know something about offense. He has something figured out. By the way, right now, the NFC West, Joe, 49ers and Rams are tied to win the division. I know the 49ers are going to get healthier, and they're going to get Kittle back and some other players too. Is it a time to jump on the 49ers because of that? The Rams look better than them, let's be clear. I don't think Seattle will hang in all year like that, but the Rams look better than the Niners. But I don't know, something still scares me about Stafford, like he wakes up one day and then he's out for like 5 games. I don't know. I still think 49ers win the division.
Yeah, listen, the 49ers have the right schedule to do it, but I'm not sure you're overcoming the loss of Bosa there on the defensive side. They just can't stay. At one point, I'm watching and covering that game on In Game Live yesterday. Ricky Pearsall is on the ground in the tent. Jennings is on the ground. He literally, Purdy, had nobody to throw the ball to except McCaffrey and himself. That was all they had for pass catchers at long stretches of that game yesterday. So hopefully Ayuk gets back. Hopefully they'll be able to make some moves and, kind of solidify and get past these injuries. The schedule is there for them to still win the West, but my goodness, it's going to be close here if they can't get healthy in some spots.
Rookies in the NFL, we go into a season where you think it's always going to be a quarterback winning this award. I don't think that's going to be the case this year, Joe. I think that we've seen enough this season to make the determination it'll be someone outside of quarterback. I don't know if it's Cam Ward's fault or not, but man, he's got nothing going thus far. So let's move aside from him. Tyler Warren with a nice game yesterday. But the two favorites on FanDuel right now are Emeka Egbuka and Ashton Genty, who had his breakout game yesterday with 3 total touchdowns. So you see the odds have completely shifted now, and Genty is the favorite with Egbuka. Both players are fantastic. Joe, patience definitely paid off for Genty, but I do think, Joe, with the Raiders, I think that's who he's going to be. He's going to have some games where he blows up like that, and then he's going to have some games where he carries 20 times for 40 yards.
Is it too late to get in on the Jackson Dart train? Maybe. He only missed a handful of games here, but if the Giants continue to perform, that'll be interesting. But I think Amari Hampton might be the dark horse there. We know Najee Harris is gone. You saw what he's going to be for Harbaugh yesterday. The kid is a workhorse, and he's going to get the opportunities.
Yeah, definitely so. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back with some baseball when we come back. Thanks again, Joe. Two favorites are still the two favorites. So for me, it's just whether or not you got Herbert at a better price or if you think there's a better price to get at this point. But with the way Josh Allen plays and generally Lamar Jackson, it still does appear to be a two-player race. The only thing, obviously, this is an injury league, Adam, and in the NFL, an injury that keeps you out 4 or 5 games, all of a sudden, those odds will shift.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Talk to me. Who are some of the guys? What are the keys for a victory here?
Well, Joe, we have this one player. It's like having Tom Brady at quarterback in the Super Bowl. We've got Scotty Scheffler. I think the first key is that, and this is going to sound crazy, but I think we should play him in all 5 matches. I'm just throwing it out there. 15 wins in 2 years. We got to get him out there.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They know the minutia of game time decisions, when to call timeouts, when the kick, go for 2, and all that other stuff better than the head coaches, because the head coaches aren't watching 30, 35 games like sports fans are between college football and the NFL. All the head coaches are doing are watching game films. They may be watching 30 game films, but they're not watching game management. So the fan does know.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Everything changed at that point. They went and got Jonquel Jones, and they really had that triple threat monster team. That second year they lost in the WNBA Finals, 3-1 against the Las Vegas Aces. Year 3, they finally get over the top hump, and you can question whether they should have won the title with that foul call late in Game 5 that sent Breanna Stewart to the foul line.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
All right, let's close out this hour with some baseball, some breaking news in Major League Baseball. Bob Melvin is being fired by the San Francisco Giants. 81-81 this season and 161 and 163 in 2 years as Giants manager. Buster Posey, by the way, is now the president of baseball operations. He did not hire Melvin, so I guess he wants his own manager. He said, quote, "The last couple of months has been both disappointing and frustrating for all of us, and we did not perform up to our standards. We now turn our focus to identifying a new leader to guide us forward." Bob Melvin is out in San Francisco. Also, Derek Shelton earlier this season was fired by the Pirates they brought in interim coach Don Kelly. Pirates announced that they have extended him, and so thus Don Kelly will be the manager continuing with the Pirates. By the way, also Brian Snitker in his end of the year press conference with the Braves said he hasn't decided on his retirement. Braves, I'm sure, will make an announcement on something in the next few days. All right, baseball postseason begins tomorrow. Let's show you the current odds right now. Yankees heavy favorites to beat the Red Sox in game 1 of their 3-game set. By the way, all the wild card games, you see those teams on the right, Yankees, Guardians, Cubs, and Dodgers, they play wild card games at home. 3 games, all at home. So the road team essentially has to win 2 out of 3 to move on. And the only team right now that's favored to do so would be the Tigers. They're minus 112 to take out the Guardians. The matchup that the Yankees and Red Sox will renew should be a fun one. We know the history. We know the pageantry. Here are both managers, Aaron Boone and Alex Cora, on facing off with each other beginning tomorrow night.
Just how do you go against a guy like Crochet, who you figure will get?
Yeah, I mean, one of the game's best, obviously, and just turned in a phenomenal season. So, we've got some familiarity with him. We've seen him a few times. He's had success against us. We've dinged him a little bit too, and hopefully that familiarity serves us well going into Tuesday.
It's New York against Boston. It's going to be big. We got a bunch of guys that they haven't been in this stage, but they have a lot of guys over there that they haven't been in this stage either. So should be fun. It's going to be loud, and like always, if we pitch, we're going to be okay.
Meanwhile, backing into the postseason, that is definitely the case with the final wildcard spot in the National League, as the Reds have qualified for the postseason with the Mets loss to Miami on Sunday. So the Reds are in. They'll take on the Los Angeles Dodgers, and they're the biggest underdog in the wild card series. Here's Dave Roberts, manager of the Dodgers, on facing off with Cincinnati.
It's a gritty group. It's a hungry group. It's certainly a younger group, and we can't take these guys lightly. Not to say that we took the Diamondbacks lightly, a few years ago, but these guys are going to be coming in to win a series, and they're feeling really good about themselves. So we've got to focus on ourselves and take it to them. And you don't play the game on paper, and we've got to have that edge that we've talked about. And they can pitch, and they're athletic. So they got a great manager who's won a couple championships. So we got to be ready, and we are ready. I think that given we're playing on Tuesday, to play good baseball is important, and not to, again, kind of flip the switch and play bad and hope that you start playing well in 2 days. So we've done that. And so I'm excited to kind of, get on the plane, get to Dodger Stadium, have a workout tomorrow, be ready to go on Tuesday. And, my hope is that, the fans are as excited as we are, and we're going to, build off that energy from pitch one. So hopefully they'll come in and just kind of super energize us.
Hopefully the Reds fare well, because honestly, they're being dumped on a little bit for not having a great squad in a non-shortened season. They've had no qualifying batter hit 270, no batter hit 25 home runs, no pitcher win 15 games, or even strike out 200. They do have a couple of really good pitchers, including Hunter Green, so hopefully this will be close. Meanwhile, the New York Mets have been knocked out of the postseason by the Marlins again. This is the third time in 20 years that this has happened, and the first time certainly in a while, as the Mets spend $350 million on their payroll and do not make the postseason. Their owner, Steve Cohen, took to social media today apologizing for the Mets' performance. And also, in case you missed it after the game, Pete Alonso, their all-star first baseman, said that he will opt out of his contract. Mets could still bring him back, obviously, but there's a possibility no Pete Alonso in New York next season. All right, well, with that, let's get back to some football. We'll take a quick time out here on NewsWire. When we come back next, our SportsGrid insider Adam Kaplan will join us. Undefeated teams in the NFL are now just Philadelphia and Buffalo. So we'll hit on that and go around the league and also talk some Monday Night Football, couple of games tonight as well. More to come here, 30 more minutes of NewsWire here on SportsGrid. So stay with us as we'll be back right after this.
football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
That's a lot for a closer. 10. You're not a closer anymore if you blow 10 games. I mean, my goodness. That's
he's mentally broken too. Like, it's to the point where, like, Dodger fans aren't even mad at him. They're more mad at the Dodgers for putting him out there.
Putting him in.
Right? It's more so.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, guys, like, he's done.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Major League Baseball has decided it is time to put balls and strikes not just in the hands of the umpires, but also the robot umpires, as they say. The ABS system is now officially in place starting next season. Now, keep in mind, they're not just throwing this out there. They have used this at the Arizona Fall League, and they've also used it at different levels of the minor leagues as well.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
MVP hopes, as far as my eyes can see, out of here. No way. No way. Not with what I'm seeing around this league right now. Josh Allen should be in front of him. He is. Herbert should be in front of him. He's not just yet. Jalen Hurts should be in front of Lamar Jackson. People may not want to hear that, but it's true. Jordan Love is in front of Lamar Jackson. That's a pump the brakes special. Come on now.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish, joined by SportsGrid insider Adam Kaplan here with us on the show and talking undefeated football in the National Football League. 2 teams, I think, that have a shot to run here a little bit with it. I don't know about going 17-0, but I think we've identified 2 of the best 4 or 5 teams in the NFL, Adam. We've got the Eagles undefeated. We've got the Bills undefeated. Both teams, kind of a little, tricky to get there, I would say. They haven't played their best football, but in this day and age of the NFL, with the parity that exists, we could poke some holes here, I suppose, Adam, and there's going to be some issues, especially on the defensive side with Buffalo, and then with figuring out what the bleep is going on with the Eagles from half to half on offense. I have no idea week to week. But they're 4-0, man. They're both getting in the playoffs, and as long as they just don't suffer some crazy injuries, they're going to be there close to the end.
Yeah, I'd agree. And let me add a couple things here. So on my training camp tour, I always get asked, with a general manager, coaches, or anyone in personnel, hey, what are you thinking of this team, or what are your thoughts on league and so forth? They always pay attention what's going on. And there was really a feeling, this is the first time this has happened to me in a long time, that there weren't any dominant teams coming into the season. And I would tell you, we're almost done week 4. You mentioned Philly and Buffalo as the 2 teams undefeated. We had 6 going into this weekend's games. There aren't any dominant teams this year, Craig. Now, the league, talking to them for years, they call it competitive balance. I don't like the word parity, but this is what they want. So, and it kind of like we saw in Major League Baseball, went down to the wire. Those wild card spots in both conferences, Craig, they absolutely could go down to the wire this year. And I know no one thinks the Ravens will make the playoffs. Now, Lamar Jackson has a hamstring injury. That's problematic. But I know if you're 1 of 3, the chances are slim that you get in. They could always make a run. We'll get to Baltimore later. But the bottom line is it's completely wide open now. No one's really dominant, and that's the way the league likes it.
Yeah, and I think that is fair. And, one team to me that I watched a little bit yesterday that I would say that now has to be taken very seriously once again at home, also that everyone slept on because of just how bad they played initially, was Detroit. I mean, Detroit to me looks exactly like they were supposed to look. And I think this year, if it's going to be tough to win in Philadelphia, but if Detroit gets a home game in that place, Ben Johnson or not, I think Detroit, after what I saw yesterday, all the way back and defensively looked great against Cleveland too. So let's get to just these next couple of matchups here with the Bills and the Eagles. Sure. I think they're going to both be big favorites. I think they're probably both going to win. this week. Now, again, I haven't seen Denver yet tonight, but I haven't loved what I've seen with them on offense yet. We'll see tonight.
Yeah, I agree with you. Denver's been very, very inconsistent offense. I want to talk about the Lions in our second segment if we have time. But, yeah, I would think with Denver, they're capable of being better than they are offensively. Defensively, they've had their moments. It's kind of like one of those things. You've only seen 3 games. We need to see more. I think that's the issue now with Denver. And then when you see Cincinnati, Jake Browning, I know it didn't look good. So I've talked to someone who coached with them, who coached him. This is many years ago in Minnesota. He was on the coaching staff. And they love his moxie. They didn't know that he ever make it as a backup. He's actually, when you talk to people around the league, he's one of the better backups in the league. He's super aggressive throwing it. I know he's going to turn the ball over. We saw that last week. That's going to happen. But it gives you the chance because you don't want a quarterback, Craig, when he's your backup, to be timid. You don't want him to be worried or scared to throw the football. He's not. And that's how he stayed in the league. And he's been in the league for many years. But this is a game, by the way, it's very winnable. But Cincinnati's defense, they're up and down. They certainly are more competitive than last year under Al Golden, who's their new defense coordinator. But they've got a lot of work to do. There's no question. And Denver, by the way, if they win this game, that'd be great for them. But they have to travel to Philly, and that's a 1 Eastern game crossing 2 time zones. So that'll be very difficult. We know how hard it is to win in Philly.
Someone in that game between Denver and Philly will be up 21-0 and not win or cover in the second half of that game. That would be, I don't know which team, but someone will be. Yeah. And so it's based on the way that the Eagles play this season. All right, Steelers are 3-1, and tried to give the game away in the end with some bizarre play calling here. Aaron Rodgers has done a better job than Fields solidifying this team, but I would also say, Adam, that Kenneth Gainwell sitting the last couple of years, maybe that was the best thing for him, because all of a sudden this guy was like unstoppable against the Vikings yesterday. And and as I look, I did take Pittsburgh yesterday in the pools and the picks. I did sort of suspect, I suspected that I love Brian Flores. I think in the end they're going to play a lot of close games. Do you think, by the way, I know we were going to do Steelers. Do you think the Vikings would go to that third string quarterback? I've heard a lot of buzz about him in training camp and stuff. Would that happen?
Carson Wentz, Craig, I know he turned it over 3 times, 2 picks and a fumble. He also made some phenomenal throws. Their line could not protect him. Brian O'Neill, the right tackle, got hurt. Remember, Darisaw, their left tackle, just came back from his ACL injury, so he missed their entire offseason program rehabbing. So their offensive line didn't play well at all. And the thing about Wentz is, and other quarterbacks who are willing to, Baker Mayfield yesterday is another example of it. If you have a quarterback that's willing to hang in the pocket, they're going to take contact, they're going to get hit, and they're going to take some sacks. But he brought them back. And by the way, Addison had 2 drops, 1 critical one. Jefferson fell on what would have been a touchdown, okay? If you remember, he ran to his left. It was a good throw by Wentz. Now, Wentz had some throws he'd like to have back. But considering Carson Wentz has not been a factor since 2021 when he actually played pretty well for the Colts, he didn't play well at all with Washington. He looked pretty good. And I know our guy Kevin Walsh thinks he should be the starter. He talked about this last week with me on Game Time Decisions. But let's not get ahead of ourselves over McCarthy. But Wentz played a little bit better than people thought. I know you can't turn it over. You can't browbeat a quarterback. Hey, don't turn the ball over. That's not coaching. But Wentz gave them a chance to come back. That's the point.
Yeah, and the other point is that when you win 48-10 in the National Football League, you probably should fade that team the next week, no matter who it is, because it's just back-to-back weeks in the NFL. Teams do not crush, especially when it's the Vikings. You don't crush like that. Yep. All right, Commanders basically decided they could stall Daniels coming back another week, and then they made the call on McLaurin to not play, and that line flipped completely. Yeah. Washington went from a favorite to an underdog against Atlanta. Atlanta came easily. I mean, the game was close, I guess, but Atlanta felt like they, basically were controlled the whole game. 49ers look, this kid Ricky Pearsall's great. He just cannot stay healthy. So I don't know what they're going to do at wide receiver. It feels like next draft, no matter what pick they have, Adam, they have to take a receiver in the first round of the NFL draft, I think, next year. Jennings is good. He's banged up again. Purdy's banged up again. My gosh, like the 49ers, they're going to win their 9-10 games, but will they have anybody at the end to play?
Craig, this was a very bad Sunday for injuries. So let's start with the 49ers. Juwan Jennings has this lingering shoulder problem, okay? Pearsall gets hurt again. It's another knee injury. Ayuk won't be back for several weeks. Come back from his ACL rehab. Okay, John Lynch, your general manager, in interviews and with local radio, made that very clear. It's going to be a while. So they got a problem here. McCaffrey is, He hasn't been bad, but he's not killing it like he usually does for people who play fantasy. Like you and I, we know that if we have him on our teams, he's not doing as well. So that look, and Purdy and their offensive line had some issues in the game against Jacksonville. That was one I got wrong. I'll admit it. I had a really good day picking games versus the number. That was not one of them. I thought they'd win that game. And another time we'll talk about Jacksonville. I'm not ready for them to be real. The Colts, who we're going to talk about in the second segment, they are worth a discussion. But yeah, I worry about them. Washington has a number of injuries on both sides of the football. Right now, Philly, and I know no one's won that division in the NFC East since 2004 back-to-back. Right now, Philly's a major, major favorite,
of course,
going forward to win that division. There's no question. They're in the driver's seat. Washington's too beat up right now.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think that look, they'll get those two guys back, and I think that once that happens, that will be, very, very important there. By the way, the Giants, and real quick as we close it out, we're gonna get to everything that's going on the rest of the NFL, but you can't tell me you picked the Giants yesterday to win outright. Maybe ATS
I have the
had
Chargers.
them, right?
No. I love the Chargers. I said it on Pro Football Today. I'll admit it when I get it wrong. I'll admit it. I thought Dart would struggle, and the Chargers did not play well. They had more injuries in that game too, but Chargers are a little bit banged up as well.
Yeah, the left tackle, the right tackle, running back. Yeah, a lot.
Not good. Yeah.
All right, coming up next, we'll get into the Indianapolis Colts and their performance yesterday against the Rams. More with SportsGrid insider Adam Kaplan coming up right after the break.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all three Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
That's a lot for a closer. 10. You're not a closer anymore if you blow 10 games. I mean, my goodness. That's
he's mentally broken too. Like, it's to the point where like Dodger fans aren't even mad at him; they're more mad at the Dodgers for putting him out there.
Putting him in.
Right? It's more so.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, guys, like, he's done.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Major League Baseball has decided it is time to put balls and strikes not just in the hands of the umpires, but also the robot umpires, as they say. The ABS system is now officially in place starting next season. Now, keep in mind, they're not just throwing this out there. They have used this at the Arizona Fall League, and they've also used it at different levels of the minor leagues as well.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
MVP hopes, as far as my eyes can see, out of here. No way. No way. Not with what I'm seeing around this league right now. Josh Allen should be in front of him. He is. Herbert should be in front of him. He's not just yet. Jalen Hurts should be in front of Lamar Jackson. People may not want to hear that, but it's true. Jordan Love is in front of Lamar Jackson. That's a pump the brakes special. Come on now.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Teams lose in the NFL, and sometimes the takeaway is that was a good loss. I think as we bring in SportsGrid insider Adam Kaplan, I think the Colts loss was a great loss, not just a good loss. They easily could have won that game if Mitchell doesn't fumble that ball. And even still, I mean, if you're going to lose on an 80-yard touchdown at the end of the game to a future Hall of Famer like Stafford on the road, it's okay. My takeaway is keep betting the Colts, even though they didn't win and they didn't cover that game yesterday. Rams are fine. They're good. But, man, I mean, Indianapolis is I don't think a Super Bowl contender, but a legit playoff team. If you can get any plus money on the Colts to make the playoffs or light must money, I think I would take it.
Yep. First of all, they are the clear favorite to me. I know people are going to say, "Oh, what about Jacksonville? They're 3-1 too." Look at what you just mentioned. The Colts here. Look at who the Colts have played so far. Now, the Denver game, they got lucky. It was crazy. The penalty that Denver had for leaping, you can't do that on a field goal try. But the bottom line is, Daniel Jones. Now, Daniel Jones had a couple picks yesterday. Okay, that's a concern, but overall he's played very well. And this is what clubs tell me: the first 4 games, you know who you are. You need to play at least 4 games. You kind of have an idea. Jonathan Taylor has not looked this good in years. He looks phenomenal. I know Mitchell, terrible play. He'll learn from that. Alec Pierce didn't play with a concussion. He could fly. He could really run. They'll get him back soon. But Mitchell's a very talented guy. You just can't do that. Their defense has been better than I thought. What I find interesting is Lou Anarumo, who was the Bengals defense coordinator, was fired. He's now the Colts defensive coordinator, doing a great job. It's funny how that works out. And to me, I know the Jaguar fans are going to be happy with me in Duval, but to me, if I had money to bet future numbers, I'm with you, Craig. I'm taking the Colts over the Jaguars for the rest of the season.
Me too.
No question in my mind.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I do like Jacksonville also. That was my sleeper team, as you know, going into the year. I picked them to get to the Super Bowl. Okay, I'm not going to go off it. I'm not off it. I like Jacksonville. You know why? The players on that team, Adam, a little funky. I don't think they're the best. I think the coach is good. And you know why I'm going to say that? Yeah. You know why I'm going to say that? And more than ever, and I just talked about this with Joe Ranieri, same team a year ago, coaching staff, maybe GM, willing to punt the running back and give this guy Bigsby a shot. The guy they were willing to cut, get rid of, trade, dump, looks fantastic at running back, and they got rid of the other guy. I mean, there has to be Cohen involved in that.
Oh, we know he is. That's why he brought in the kid from the Rams to be his general manager. They got a young GM who we knew, and they have a very good relationship. Now, the question for the Jaguars is, Craig, Travis Hunter passed this season. To me, he's going to have to pick one over there. You can't be a 2-position player the rest of your career. It's not going to happen. I don't care what they say. It is not going to happen for the totality of his career, but he's been a great story. They're way better than I thought. I'll admit it. That's one team. When we did future numbers, which ones we liked, I didn't see that. Now, again, they've only played 4 games. They're better than we thought. I know. Look, Niners are banged up. That's a heck of a win. They dominated that football game. I give Liam Cohen credit and his staff credit. He's got a lot of young coaches on that staff, and they did a great job so far.
Yeah, they did. And the Raiders will take on the Colts this week. I do not want to talk about my bad Raiders loss yesterday. Oh my gosh, the Raiders! Oh my gosh, was that a terrible loss?
They had it. That was a heck of a game, by the way.
Oh gosh, I mean, come on.
I can hear it.
Oh, okay. You know what? I'm pivoting out of all of this stuff. I know the topic that I want to ask you about. If you don't know the answer now, Adam, it's okay. I want you at some point here on SportsGrid, whether it's me or someone else, to answer this question. Okay, this is your. If I'm in your seat with baseball, asking what's going on. Why are so many kicks getting blocked in the NFL? What is going on? Why? Is it because the guy's hand goes down and then they run or something? What's going on?
No. Okay. Here's kind of my ballpark idea based on the people I've spoken with. There are a number of kickers that kick the ball low, and they're not adjusting well enough. Like the Eagles blocked John Carty last week, obviously to win the game. He's not the only one. Josh Carty's a really good kicker for the Rams, but there have been a number of lower kicks, and you get a book on a kicker, and I'll look into it more for you because there's some special teams coaches I know, but that's what I'd heard. The clubs see guys who have a low trajectory on their kicks, and you put your hand, especially if you've got a 6'5", 6'6" defensive tackle, and get his hands up. Now, a couple of them, or it could be a pump block. The Eagles hit the pump block by a backup tight end, Cam Latu. You find an area where the protection is weak. This has been going on for decades. For as long as I've covered this business, 27 years. These special teams coaches find some weakness in your protection. And that's what's happening. It's actually a great question. But the big one is how low that they kick it. Because if you're a guy who gets it up, more often than not, you're not going to get it blocked. That's just the way it is. But, yeah, it is really odd so far. I agree with you.
Yeah, there was someone, I think it was a radio broadcast when I was driving, saying and look, this sounds crazy to me, but they were saying that they would much rather teams get conservative on 4th and 7 and 4th and 9 and 4th and 8 by potentially being offsides, allowing that to happen and say, go ahead, try again, go ahead, as opposed to on the timing of it, because basically the NFL has become a league where they want you the coaches want you attempting field goals as opposed to going for it anymore. It's like they're scared of the non-conservative team. I don't even know if that even exists or if that's real, but that's what I had heard on the radio real quick. All right.
Explain that?
Buccaneers.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's true or not.
No, but here's what coaches think. So they would two things. They'd rather you run the ball and throw it if you're a defensive coordinator. It's a lot easier to stop the run than the pass, okay? Rules favor passing because you can't touch a guy after 5 yards. And that's why clubs, they're begging you to run the football. But last year was a renaissance for the running game. Not so far this season. We're not having as many big-time running games as we usually get. But, yeah. Now, the Buccaneers, by the way, they are decimated. These two segments, Craig, dominated by injury. And a lot of good football teams. The Bucs are still going to make the playoffs, but we've got a number of players hurt on both sides of the football. And life without Mike Evans is not grand. You saw that against the yesterday.
Although Egbuka is a star, that we can agree on. That guy's great.
Oh, by the way, that should have been knocked down. That was terrible. By the way, that ball, two guys go for it. Come on, two guys go for it.
Look, if you're hot with the picks this week, then go ahead. Your best pick tonight in the two games. You don't have to give me two. Just give me your favorite one tonight against the spread.
I don't like either. I had a good week, but I don't like either. I like Denver of all the 4 teams. The only one I like slightly is Denver.
Okay. All right.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
That's a lot for a closer. 10. You're not a closer anymore if you blow 10 games. I mean, my goodness.
He's mentally broken too. Like, it's to the point where, like, Dodger fans aren't even mad at him. They're more mad at the Dodgers for putting him out there.
Putting him in.
Right? It's more so.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, guys, like, he's done.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Major League Baseball has decided it is time to put balls and strikes not just in the hands of the umpires, but also the robot umpires, as they say. The ABS system is now officially in place starting next season. Now, keep in mind, they're not just throwing this out there. They have used this at the Arizona Fall League, and they've also used it at different levels of the minor leagues as well.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
MVP hopes, as far as my eyes can see, out of here. No way. No way. Not with what I'm seeing around this league right now. Josh Allen should be in front of him. He is. Herbert should be in front of him. He's not just yet. Jalen Hurts should be in front of Lamar Jackson. People may not want to hear that, but it's true. Jordan Love is in front of Lamar Jackson. That's a pump the brakes special. Come on now.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Top story of the day overall has to be the dismissal of Bob Melvin. The Giants have decided to fire Melvin, who was thought to be maybe even a future managing Hall of Famer. Of course, did a great job with the A's, also managed the Padres, then moved on to the Giants, and now certainly have to wonder if he'll manage again. Buster Posey making that call. Giants will be looking for a new manager. All right, it's time for us to cover the rest of sports, which would include the A's, ironically, and also this war of words not just with coaches in the NFL, but how about comedians as well? I'll tell you more about those details. It's time for some Last Licks. All right, there's a war of words going on right now. It looks like Liam Cohen and Robert Saleh are pretty heated here. In fact, Cohen and Saleh had an exchange after the win where Jacksonville ended up beating San Francisco. Saleh used the phrase, as you could figure out, legal sign stealing in a news conference last week in reference to Liam Cohen. What does that exactly mean? Sign stealing in football? I mean, we know how that worked with that guy Connor Stallions, right? But he was actually on the sideline, so I don't know. But either way, let's get some explanation. Here's the head coach of the Jaguars, Liam Cohen, on that comment, and also Kyle Shanahan with a backup of his coach and Robert Saleh on the other comment.
You and Saleh at the end.
It was not a big deal. Just keep that between us.
One more on that one.
No, I'm going to keep that between us.
So you didn't
No, just going to keep that between us right now. That's it.
No, try to clear it up, but I didn't see what happened, so I'm not sure. Don't think you should be that sensitive about it, but it is what it is. Not too worried about it.
I think it's just a little sour grapes here on the side of San Francisco 49ers, to be honest with you. I mean, look, you go into that game, you're supposed to beat the Jaguars. And if you're a favorite, I'm going to break this down for you. If you're a favorite in the National Football League by more than 2 points at home, it means that you're the better team going into the game. So the odds makers told you the 49ers are a better team than the Jaguars. But that's not what happened. And then coaches get salty, and then they start finding, now I think Saleh's a great coach, great defensive coordinator too. But let's get real. If something was happening, the National Football League would get into it. And that hasn't happened. So move on. Take your L, as they say. The A's moved to Sacramento in a minor league ballpark this season. They're going to be there again next season. And they're going to be there again the season after that. Eventually, they will move to Las Vegas. They're not expected to play there in 26 or 27. But they are expected to play in a brand new Las Vegas ballpark in 2028. So they went away from the A's, and they weren't Oakland, and they weren't really Sacramento. I think it's fair to say it's time for them to embrace playing in that stadium next year with their fans from Sacramento, who did show up to see the games, by the way, ironically, this year. On social media, last day of the season, the A's officially are the Sacramento A's starting next year. In fact, the front of their jerseys, instead of Oakland, I know it's probably painful for Oakland fans, but it had to be done. It's going to say Sacramento on the front of the A's jerseys. So those of you who live in Sacramento, if you want to buy A's jerseys next year, cool. But just keep in mind, in 2 years, you're not going to have that on the jersey. It's going to say Las Vegas across the front. But I think this is good for the A's to embrace that. Okay, a bigger story than the Ryder Cup this weekend was the heckling that was going on with some of the players, including Rory McIlroy, including one of the hosts of the Ryder Cup, this comedian who apparently ended up stirring it up by using some expletives and jumping in on the idea that it's okay to razz golfers with expletives. She ended up having to quit and not finish the weekend at the Ryder Cup. Like, what was going on this weekend there? I've never seen anything like it. And I thought, the Phoenix Open in Arizona, that's where you heckle the golfers, and it's sort of acceptable at the Waste Management Open. But at Bethpage Black for USA versus Europe, very bizarre scene from the fans here. I know golf has these old ways, and you're not supposed to yell and scream. Look, I think some of that stuff and that razzing is okay, but they were way over the top. And this comedian who ended up getting fired or quitting, I mean, this is a horrible decision. I mean, this just shows you they brought somebody in that had no idea what they were doing. Sometimes you got to do some, not just background, but you got to explain, hey, it is not your position to stir up fans, to curse out the opponent. Not a good idea. Here's a good idea. Stick around to SportsGrid. We got some great programming coming the rest of your day, including game time decisions and in-game live. Why? Because we have 2 games in the National Football League tonight. 15 minutes away from me, we got the Miami Dolphins taking on the New York Jets, where the Dolphins are slight favorites. And then tonight we got the Denver Broncos at home taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. We got the games covered for you tonight here on SportsGrid. Thanks to Vinny Iyer, Jacob Kamaker, Joe Ranieri, and our SportsGrid insider Adam Kaplan. For my director Luke and my producer Frank, I'm Craig Mish. I hope you have a great rest of your day here on SportsGrid. See you tomorrow.